We're still here. Blackwood Academy is still here. For how long that will last, though, I don't know. Right now, the update is at 71%. It hasn't changed. It hasn't taken me long to remember who or what I was. I was right when I said it would hit, and it would hit hard. I was that monster under your bed. The shadow bleeding into the dark you swear was at the corner of your eye. Pain and pleasure are vastly different things, different emotions. They are black and white, light and dark, hope and hopelessness. Why is it different for us? Why do I feel like I'm feeling both of them at the same time and yet there is no difference? I've been struggling to figure out just what it is I'm feeling. Because that's what this thing is. The thing that was pulled out of my head. It still lingers. If I'm to be completely honest with you, I don't feel human anymore. Not now that I remember what I did. The clarity of who I became because of what was inside my head. I don't think any of us, even the so-called saved ones, are human. I'm sorry, it's been several days. I've been unsure whether to write. I wanted to stop. I wanted to leave it at that. After all, you know what's going on at our school now. You know about Blackwood Academy. And it's your choice whether you spread the word or keep it to yourself. As I said in the first part, I wanted to get it out there. But I wasn't expecting things to turn out as they have. I wasn't expecting to be back here. I don't want to talk about it right now. I just want to write. Because it's all I can do, right? I can write. And hopefully, I'll feel something that's not conflicted waves of good and bad, pain and pleasure. I don't know. I don't know what I'm feeling. My head is fucked. My thoughts a goddamn hurricane. I've come to the conclusion that this next post will be in 2 parts. 2 parts because I don't want to write all of it. Not yet. Not when it's fresh in my memory. What I want to talk about right now has nothing to do with the last few days, though. I'm sure I'll get to what has happened sooner or later. I think I'm still in shock. No, I'm not in shock. I'm suppressing it. I don't want to fucking think about it. So I'm not going to. My mom always said to stop hurting, to stop thinking about things that hurt me both physically and mentally. I have to imagine something that makes me happy. Before my world ended, I was sure only one person would be that something. My mental anchor. Rory. Aurora Michelson. My best friend since we were even self-aware. Our parents were neighbors, so it was inevitable, right? Of course we had become inseparable. I've been thinking about Rory for the last few days. She's been in my head. And no matter what I do, I can't get her out. Like she's the parasite that took me over. Not just her, memories of her that I've kept both precious to me and suppressed to the back of my head. Deep down. Because not all memories are good. Not all of them I can deal with. As I said, time doesn't exist here at Blackwood. I don't know when exactly it was when silhouettes bled into the classroom, Jasper's so-called safe place, and stole me into the night. But I wasn't exactly conscious to know what was happening. Instead, I was trapped inside my own mind, my own memories. Maybe I was subconsciously looking for a reason why she had done this. When my best friend had caused this much damage. Instead, I only found what I had pushed deep down so long ago. A knowing of what it was going to dredge back up. Which would bring me back to that version of myself. That monster the thing in my head turned me into. I was 7 years old again, sitting in my bedroom with its strawberry-colored walls and prickly purple carpet. Marmalade, our 3-year-old ginger tabby, was in my lap, and I was running my fingers through her fur over and over again. I wouldn't cry. That's what I told myself. Mom had told me Marmalade was very sick and she was going to go to sleep for a while. So I had insisted on sitting cross-legged with her warm, fluffy lump in my lap until she eventually went to sleep. I remember she was purring. Despite being in pain, like Mom had said, Marmalade was purring softly, and part of my naive, childish mind told me that was a sign that she was going to get better. Marmalade purred when she was happy, so she was better. I was sure of it. I had my head buried in her fur when my bedroom door opened. Mara? Little Rory's voice was a soft whimper. Mara, are you okay? No, I said into Marmalade's fur. No, I don't want to play today. Footsteps pitter-pattered on the carpet. But I brought our favorite book. Rory came close. I could feel her breath tickling the back of my neck. Is Marmalade okay? I shook my head, stifling my sobs. Mommy said Marmalade is going to sleep soon. Forever sleep? She whispered, coming to kneel in front of me. Uh-huh. I started to cry, and then so did she. The exact same cry. My heaving shoulders and sobs. The pauses in my sobs when I was struggling to breathe, struggling to get words out. She copied every move so perfectly, like she was my twin, imitating every tiny gasp that escaped my mouth, my sniffles, even my trembling hands cradling the cat. Rory shuffled closer to me, joining in, acting like she had her very own Marmalade. When I lifted my head, tears were dripping down her cheeks, and her eyes were raw, blonde curls hanging in her face. But she didn't look upset. It was almost like Rory was mimicking me, so it was like another game we could play. She had her battered copy of Sleeping Beauty clutched to her chest. It was the pop-up version, the one I loved. All the trees and flowers came to life in cardboard pop-ups I loved running my fingers over while reading the story. After a while, Rory let out a sigh and wiped away her tears like she was playing a game, just like when we played funerals. Mara, you're making her hurt even more, Rory whispered, bumping heads with me. She ran her fingers over the cat's fur, scratching Marmalade's ear. Can't you let Marmalade go to heaven? What? I stared at her, blinking rapidly. Heaven, Rory said. She leaned close, whispering in my ear. So she's not hurting anymore. Her words didn't make sense in my mind. Why would Rory want that? Why would she want Marmalade to leave me? Choosing to ignore her, I held the cat tighter to my chest, so tight like I would lose her if I didn't squeeze hard enough. I wanted to ask Rory why she had said such a thing, but then Mom was shouting my name from the bottom of the stairs. Mara, come downstairs for a moment. I jumped up and put Marmalade down gently, giving her a pat. I'll be right back, I told the cat, who made a soft noise in response. I nodded at Rory. I'm going to talk to Mommy. Can you look after her? Rory nodded, a smile breaking out on her face. Yes. Then we can play? I'm going to get Marmalade some milk too. She cocked her head. And then we can play? I told her yes, and then headed downstairs. Mom was standing in the kitchen with a tray of cupcakes and a saucer of milk for Marmalade. Her expression twisted when she saw me, and I saw that look on her face again. Mom was trying not to cry. She pulled me into a hug and wiped away my tears, and I knew everything would be okay. As long as I had my mom, I would be okay. I took the tray and the milk, careful not to drop them, and bounced back upstairs with a spring in my step. Marmalade was going to be okay. I knew she was. Rory, I have cake, I sang, struggling to balance everything on the tray. Mom always made Rory's favorite, red velvet. I was smiling when I peeked back inside my bedroom. Rory was going to be so happy we had cake, and the two of us were going to eat them together, and maybe I'd give Marmalade some to cheer her up. I was halfway inside the room, still clutching the tray, when I noticed Rory was kneeling with her back to me. She was holding the Sleeping Beauty book up in the air with both hands, and I noticed there was something very wrong with it. There was a scarlet smudge where Prince Philip's smiling face was supposed to be, and once I saw it, I couldn't stop seeing it. I was seeing red, glistening red all over the book. I dropped the tray. I couldn't move. Rory? I stepped closer and saw more. I saw blurs of orange and red in front of my best friend. Mom, I said, but my words weren't coming out as they should. Mom! Rory turned around finally, and she was smiling. There was red splashed all over her face. It didn't look right. No, it didn't look right. Rory wasn't supposed to be covered in blood. Her golden pigtails tainted with that same scary shade of red. There was nothing in her eyes that spoke of regret or sorrow. Rory really was happy. My best friend was smiling, giggling over the corpse of my sweet cat. My sweet Marmalade. See? I helped her. My best friend shot me a grin before turning back to the cat, and both of her arms came down in one violent thwack, slamming the book down on my sweet Marmalade. I screamed, but she wasn't listening. She wasn't stopping. Again and again, the book came down and the cover became unrecognizable. Reality blurred, and I was no longer in my bedroom. I was at Blackwood, on its pitch-dark corridors. Little Rory was still inside my head, still lingering, the memory of her repeatedly slamming the book down. But they weren't just her bloody hands. They were mine. I wasn't clutching a storybook, though. Instead, in my grasp was a metal pipe already covered in the brains of my last victim. My hands were slick red, clutching rusted steel. But I loved the way they felt, that I was covered in their misery and their pain. You know euphoria? I'm sure you've felt it at some point in your life, that almost orgasmic high that electrifies the synapses. That is what I was feeling. I can still feel it, that phantom euphoria driving me further and further into insanity. It was a thirst to feel it over and over again. The only way I would feel it would be to hurt people, to cause unimaginable pain and suffering. Basically, I got high off of agony. And after days of pushing it down and trying to forget what I had been, it all came rushing back, thanks to the memory of what Rory had done to Marmalade. And still, Rory's voice bounced around in my head, echoing. Mara, why are you crying? I saved her, Mara. I helped her go to heaven. I was seeing myself, what I'd been for a whole year with a parasite in my head. I was seeing Alexa Blake's terrified eyes that followed me feverishly as I got closer and closer to her. The girl was tied down to a desk. I caught her several hours earlier. She had been trying to get to the third floor, probably to scavenge food. I dragged her up 3 flights of stairs by her hair before slamming her down on a desk and tying her arms and legs down. Alexa thought I was going to smash her skull in. Instead, however, I got creative. Just like the others. Keeping her alive and conscious, I ripped her open and played with her insides, going deep with my hands, entangling my fingers with glistening gore. I wanted her to feel pain, to suffer. I wanted her to scream and scream and scream until her only option left was to take her own life. And she did. I left her arms free so she could do it herself. Because I knew, or at least the thing in my head told me, that nothing else would hurt more than killing yourself to stop the pain. And I had followed orders, a puppet on strings. I left a medical saw on the table next to her, and Alexa Blake, after enduring an hour of me poking and pulling at her insides, laughing when she screamed and begged for her mother, she grabbed the saw with trembling hands and plunged the blade into her heart. That is the difference between that fucking monster and Rory. In that state, I had wanted Alexa to suffer. I wanted to drive her to the brink until she was completely and utterly hopeless. Rory, in her own fucked up way, didn't want Marmalade to suffer anymore. So she had done what she thought was right. That's what I thought, at least. That's what I keep fucking telling myself because my morals are fucked. Everything in my head is fucked. When the memories faded and I was left in the dark, slowly drifting back to reality, I heard singing. When I fully came to, I found myself upside down and swinging back and forth, back and forth. Something cool grazed my cheeks, a sharp and bitter wind that drew a startled breath from my lungs. I was outside. After so long, I was actually outside, but I couldn't celebrate or revel in breathing in real air and savoring it. There was something wrong. I'd always wanted to fly as a kid. I used to climb trees and pretend to grow wings and jump out of them, narrowly missing breaking my leg multiple times. But this wasn't what I'd had in mind when I said I wanted to fly. Not when I was dangling upside down off of the roof of our school. Opening my eyes, I realized I was staring down at a sea of green at least 20 feet down below. And then when I looked up, I was seeing vines twisted and tangled and overgrown looming over me, blocking out the sky. Blackwood Academy's campus had been completely eaten up by nature, by beautiful and yet horrifying greenery transforming us into what almost looked like a video game. Disoriented, I blinked at a glimmer of what looked like silver? Fence. I was looking at a towering fence built around the circumference of the academy, successfully locking us in. The outside world really had abandoned us, I thought dizzily. I wanted to laugh because, of course I would dream about Rory, and then what I had done to Alexa Blake. And finally, to wrap it all up, let's add in my crippling fear heights. It was a nightmare, I thought. Surely, hanging off of the roof of skyscrapers and towering roofs was probably on some BuzzFeed top 10 list. A particular lash of wind blowing my hair out of my eyes shocked me into realization, however. No, I wasn't dreaming. This was real. This was very fucking real. And I was really, genuinely hanging suspended off of the roof of Blackwood Academy. Fear is a strange thing. We all feel it. We all have our own separate fears. Mine was heights. Well, it used to be heights. I say used to because I can't say that I felt fear at that moment. I felt shocked, sure. I felt panicky and confused and even a little irritated. But I can't say I felt scared. And that in itself was terrifying to me. I had spent 17 years as both a child and a teenager refusing to go to high places. So why? I thought, struggling to comprehend my body's lack of reaction. Why wasn't I freaking out? While my brain was demanding that question, I focused on the now. I focused on the fact that I was staring down at what used to be the school's campus, overrun with twisting vines and towering trees. I wondered if any of it was that thing Jasper had pointed out, what had covered the hallways inside the school, sticking to the walls and doors like mold. When I twisted my body to try and look up and see what exactly it was that had me, that was dangling me off of the edge of the roof, teasing me with certain death if I fell, I glimpsed a shadow looming over me, a silhouette bleeding into the dim light. The singing came back, static in my brain, like it was inside my head. Ring around the rosy. The voice was familiar but childlike. It was whimsical and playful. From the mouth of a 17-year-old boy. It sounded wrong. A pocket full of posies. Something was wrapped around my leg. I felt it moving, tendrils snaking around my feet. Ashes, ashes. The boy continued with a playful laugh. This time I felt his hand wrenching at the tendrils binding my legs. He snapped one off, and then another, and my body suddenly jolted, swaying violently. I could feel the hold loosening slowly, tendril by tendril until only one held onto me. This time, the stranger didn't stay in the dark. When I twisted around, struggling to find him, I glimpsed a boy kneeling over the edge of the roof. I recognized him straight away. I recognized him from that day when Connor Marlowe had tried to kill me, and the thing inside my head turned me into a monster. I had been 100% sure Joey Summers was dead that day. I'd seen him brain himself repeatedly on a door and then collapse in a squirming pool of flesh and scarlet. But the other part of me, the thing that had senselessly murdered Alexa Blake and countless other kids, did know him. I knew his handsome face, patchwork skin that had mended his flesh altogether, left tangled roots in place of skin. I knew his laugh when he skinned kids alive and teased them with the hope of survival. The boy leaned in close, eyes sparkling with something I'd seen in Connor Marlowe. Mania. At least, that's what I thought it was. Pure, unbridled deliration let loose, unlocked, allowing an almost deranged front to surface. There was no focus in eyes that weren't quite on me. I noticed the guy was vibrating on his heels with an energy, an elation that could only be excitement. The knuckles of his fists were bruised and bloody, but there was no sign of pain. The guy was practically bouncing up and down. In the simplest of words, at least the one struggling to surface on my brain, Joey Summers, driven by the thing inside his head that had taken over that day when he'd watched Tori's video, was exactly what Jasper had explained. He was what the thing inside all of us had successfully created. A newly made psychopath, puppeteered by the parasite nestled inside his brain. Joey recited the last verse, poking me in the forehead, his smile widening with every prod. We all fall down. I could see it then, the long winding vine wrapped around my legs. In a flash, the thing was letting me go suddenly, and I barely had time to breathe, to scream. I really was flying. No, I was fucking falling. Before Joey reached out and grabbed my foot. This time I let out a raw screech. Hey, Mara! Joey's fingers tightened around my ankle. He peered over, lifting a brow. I felt it again. That same static crackling I'd felt on the day everything ended. How's it hanging? From that angle, I could see a skeletal smile. All of Joey was rotting, both from the inside and out. His whole body had been taken over with the same crap which was on the walls and hallways, but it acted more like superglue for his broken body. Remarkably though, Joey still looked like his old self, if not a little paler. His dark hair was maybe a little longer and half of his face had been ripped off, replaced with a fungus-like mold. But he still looked like the captain of the football team. As if the boy could read my mind, he pouted, his eyes darkening. Wow. Seriously, wow. After so long of hanging together, eating kids and killing kids and taking them apart, ripping off their flesh, you know, the works. And you don't even see me as a friend? The boy scoffed. I'm hurt. Bruh. And here I was trying to wish you a happy birthday. I even got you a present and you're not even going to be thankful? That caught my attention. What? I managed to choke out. I was still trying to figure out why my brain wasn't going into meltdown. I was hanging suspended from a 17-year-old classmate's grip on my ankle, which could slip at any moment, and yet I couldn't feel a thing. I wasn't scared. Joey sighed. Well, it's belated, since April Fool's was last Friday. He smirked. I didn't stick around for the celebration, so I figured I'd come and wish you a happy birthday myself. You keep saying my birthday, I hissed out when he dug his claw-like fingernails into the flesh of my ankle. What the fuck are you talking about? Duh, Joey poked me again. Your second birthday. You know, the day she made us. His eyes glistened with lunacy. And hey, I even got you a gift. With his free hand, he grabbed something. At first, I thought it was a ball, but then it was squelching between his fingers when he squeezed it, blossoming red dribbling through his fingers. It was oddly shaped and seemed to be coming apart in his hand. A heart, I thought. A human heart. Joey threw what was left of it, a mess of red sludge, up in the air and caught it. "It's your favorite." The sight of it made my stomach twist. I had to clamp my mouth shut to avoid barfing. And he saw that. He saw that reaction. Joey cocked his head. "Mara, are you feeling okay?" He pressed his hand over my forehead. "Huh? You're not warm." I didn't reply. I couldn't reply. After a moment, Joey surprised me with a laugh that rattled his body. "Oh," he said, and then louder. "Oh, right." His grin reminded me of a shark. "You got it out. Oh, wow, bravo. How did you manage it, huh? Are there any more of you? Tell me there are more of you, because that would be so cool. I'd actually congratulate you guys." I thought he was going to hit me, but instead he held out his hand for a high five. I reached out for it, more appropriately, to grab and yank him off of the edge, but his smile only grew. Static eyes shining with glee. I wondered then if I looked close enough, would I see what was inside him? That thing. "Oh, fuck. Oh, man. Do it," he whispered, bouncing on his heels. "Seriously. Do it. Can you even imagine how fucking good that would feel? Imagine it. Imagine the pain when hitting the ground. And that's even if I survived. Those last few seconds while my brains leak out of my ears." His eyes grew frenzied, and I was suddenly scared of them. I was feeling fear. Finally, but not of heights. I was scared of him, of the madness dangled in his eyes. "Do it, Mara." His giggle was hysterical. "Do it! Do it!" Joey was waiting for a reaction from me. When I didn't speak, he sighed. "Don't you miss it?" he murmured, leaning close, so close I could taste his rotten breath. "That sickening satisfaction, that pleasure when we kill. We used to have so much fun, Mara, all of us. I could let you go right now and you would feel nothing but delirium at the thought of impacting the ground and staining the concrete with your brains." Leaning back with a scowl, Joey's eyes darkened, his lip curling. "You're no fun." To my surprise, he pulled me back onto the roof with strength I wasn't sure how he'd gotten. I hit the ground, all of the breath being knocked from me. Joey gave me one last smile before turning away from me, stuffing his hands in his jeans pockets. I noticed the vines seemed to move around him, like they were following him, tangling around his ankles. "I don't want to play with you anymore." I stayed on my hands and knees and watched him head to the door. Joey turned back to me. "Catch you later, okay? Boss's orders." He left me with a salute, and for a while I stayed like that, staring hard at the world around me. Shaking my head, I focused on my reality, what the school had become. We were prisoners, I realized. Nobody was coming to get us. As good as the air felt on my skin, I didn't stay outside for long. I waited for 5, then 10 minutes until I was sure he was gone. And then I followed him. It didn't take me long to get down the school roof, heading down 2 staircases, both of which were thankfully empty. The real problem was the hallways ahead. I had memorized Jasper's hiding place well. It was an old IT room 2 floors down. The first floor was easy. I narrowly missed getting caught by another one of them, a girl like Joey, wielding a chain. She was sitting on top of the staircase with her legs up, her gaze on the ceiling, the chain across her lap. I think she was asleep. I leapt over her quickly. I thought I'd got lucky until I was power walking towards Jasper's classroom and accidentally caught the attention of a freak who had been snacking on the corpse of a kid. I don't know. I guess part of me wondered if I would be immune to them, invisible because I've already been infected. Spoiler alert, I'm not. A girl's body twitched when she saw me and took chase. She was fast, impossibly fast, emitting that same static-like screech I'd heard on the very first day. When I got to Jasper's classroom, I was surprised to find it locked. The girl was gaining momentum, pushing her arms faster. She was so close. Unlike with Joey, I didn't feel a connection to her. She was all but dead flesh running around in a meat suit being controlled.
Jasper!
I slammed my fists into the door, conscious that I was making noise.
Jasper, let me in!
He appeared at the door with a scowl.
You went back to your gang, huh?
What? I hissed, risking a look back. I could hear the girl's pounding footsteps, and from the sound of it, she had attracted more of them.
They're coming!
When he didn't move, I hissed out.
They took me, I didn't go with them. Some asshole kidnapped me and strung me up on the school roof.
He raised a brow. Prove it.
What?
Prove it's you. Panic sent my body into fight or flight. I ran my fists into the door, unable to resist a snarl.
I can't prove it,
I gritted out.
Rory is my best friend. I can talk to her. I can stop this.
He folded his arms with a scoff.
Oh, really? With the power of friendship? Let me guess. We're all going to join hands and sing a happy song and everything is going to go back to the way it was.
God, I could have punched him. I pounded the door again.
Listen to me. I was there that day. She told me exactly what she was going to do.
My voice was panicked.
At first, I didn't believe her. I mean, she just said it was a prank. I didn't think she was going that far. I don't even think she knew what she was going to do.
Something seemed to flicker in his eyes.
So you think you can talk to her?
Yes! I gritted out.
Let me in!
Jasper didn't look convinced, though his expression crumpled. When the door swung open behind me, 4 or 5 freaks dived through, falling over each other. He opened the door, grabbed my wrist, and yanked me through before slamming it shut on their battering fists. When I tried to get up, the boy loomed over me, stabbing me in the head with the butt of his bat.
As I said, try anything and I'll beat your head in.
And that's as a human. I can assure you it won't make me smile. Jasper jerked his head to the door.
Not like your gang do when they drag kids upstairs and turn their brains to mush.
I rolled my eyes.
You really think you're a Walking Dead character?
Shrugging, Jasper hummed.
Oh yeah, I can't deny that. After being stuck here for so long, it's nice to play fantasy. Glenn was my favorite, so I like to imagine myself as him, you know? A badass pizza boy.
You watch a lot of TV. His lips quirked.
Yeah, it was all I could really do when I couldn't stay awake half the time.
Jasper's words dug a memory up. I was back in front of Connor Marlowe, dying on the inside, waiting for the boy's response, when a crash sounded, and my gaze found a boy with a growing red bruise in the middle of his forehead. It didn't take me long to put the pieces together. Jasper was that kid. The one I'd seen mocked by Joey and the others. The one with narcolepsy. That's where I knew him from. Jasper poked the bat in my eye.
Hello? What? Are you having a Raven-style flash forward or something?
I stood up, shakily, shoving the bat from my face. My gaze flashed to the freaks outside, a crowd of them slamming themselves into the door, smearing old blood.
What do we do about them?
The boy took a step back, thankfully.
Nothing. He'll leave after a while.
He seemed far more interested in something else, grabbing my arm and pulling me over to an ancient-looking TV. The screen was on, and it looked like a colorful cartoon. I recognized it from the theme tune. I watched the reflection of the screen dance in Jasper's eyes.
Animaniacs?
I sent him a look.
Yeah.
He wore a wry smile.
Loved it as a kid and the reboot is great. Not enough Pinky in the Brain though.
I nodded.
Uh-huh. So why is it important?
Jasper turned to me with raised eyebrows.
It's not,
He said before heading over to the TV and pressing the palm of his hand over the screen, which seemed to react to his touch, suddenly flicking to a static screen, and then switching off completely. When I could only frown at the black screen, baffled, he turned to me. The words were on his lips, but I was already speaking them out loud in a sharp breath. "It's not just them," I said, and Jasper nodded in confirmation.
Yep.
He popped the pea and gently took my arm, raising my palm across the screen.
It's us too.
This time, the TV emitted a sharp screech before the screen flashed on and then off. I jerked my hand away before anything else could happen. "How?" I whispered. "I have no idea." Just like the phones reacting with Connor Marlowe's body, the TV was doing the same to us.
Right. So we've established that infected or not, we're connected to this,
Jasper said.
which is bad news if the update on the phones is anything to go by.
He heaved out a sigh, turning to me with skeptical eyes.
You said you can talk to our all-knowing queen and knock some sense into her.
"I'll try," I paused. "I was your 18th test subject, right?"
More or less,
he murmured. "Did the 17 kids before me not make it?" It was a question that had been on my mind for a while. The boy didn't look at me.
Let's focus on your friend first. Then we'll talk about my multiple attempts at saving our psycho classmates.
Jasper let out a sharp breath.
If you're saying there's even the slightest chance you can talk to Aurora, then we'll go and see her.
He held up his bat.
She's got guards, so I have no idea how we're going to get past them. Levi Keller and Ben Simons. They're pretty hardcore. I've seen them rip some kid's eyes out. I'll distract them and you head inside, okay?
He was already moving towards the door. Jasper pressed his face against it.
We've just got to wait until these guys leave.
How long would that be? He shrugged, turning to me.
Are you hungry?
Almost an hour and 2 stale Twinkies later, the freaks were gone, and we made a quick getaway before they could come back. Jasper wielded his bat, and I grabbed a curtain pole, which wasn't exactly the best weapon unless I used it to stab and impale. Taking slow steps, I stuck to Jasper's side. The lights above came to life as we headed down the hallway, stepping over spasming bodies and discarded phones. "Is that us?" I whispered, my gaze following the ignition of light across the hallway. It was both brilliant and horrifying, knowing that the two of us were somehow interfering with bulbs that had been dead for a year. The lights weren't the only thing. I caught phone screens flickering.
I think so,
Jasper said. "Keep your head down. It's early morning, so your gang will be waking up." I thought back to Joey. "They're not my gang." To my disdain, Jasper didn't answer. When we rounded another set of stairs, Jasper headed down to the first floor where Connor was.
"I want to check on him,"
he said, catching my look of confusion. "See if that thing is any bigger." The question was on my lips before I could bite it back. "Why are you so interested?"
Huh?
I stepped over a body, cringing. The sight of glistening gore and brains barely fazed me. "We should be figuring out a way out of here, and you want to play science projects? Why?" Jasper actually laughed, but his eyes were dark.
"I've been here a year,"
he deadpanned.
"I don't just want to get out of here. I want to see if we can, reverse it."
He sent me a sickly smile.
"It worked with you, didn't it?"
We quickened our steps, conscious of early morning sunlight, or at least what was managing to seep through the cocoon wrapped around our school, seeping through the windows. Connor was still in the same position. He hadn't moved. Jasper passed me his bat and knelt down in front of the boy, crawling over to the left side of his head. He pulled something out of his pocket, a pencil. I watched, squirming as he stuck the nib inside Connor Marlowe's ear. "So this guy," Jasper murmured, keeping his back to me. I found my gaze stuck to Connor's face. It resembled Joey's a little, but had been skin torn away, leaving a fleshy, pulpy mass, had been taken over by a spore-like fungus, like it was mending him. Jasper had already noticed and scraped a sample on some tissue paper and stuffed it into his pocket. "Was he like a friend?" I didn't know what to say to that. I shuffled uncomfortably on the spot. "I liked him." Jasper turned to me, his smile catching the fizzling light. "Oh, like?" He chuckled. "Wow." "What?" He turned back to Connor, giving the pencil another twist. "Dude, Connor Marlowe ain't straight," I finished. "Yeah, I know. I was an idiot. Can we talk about something else? You know, our impending doom, the fact that my best friend has turned our school into a Last of Us style nightmare?" He chuckled, leaning closer to the boy. "Actually, I'm having fun with this. You must have been more out of it than me if you didn't realize, and I wasn't even conscious half of the goddamn time." Rolling my eyes, I shot him a glare. "Has anyone ever told you you're insufferable?" He hummed. "Yes, many times." I was about to quip back with something when Jasper hissed out and lurched back on his hands. "Fuck!" I dropped the curtain pole in fright, wincing at the loud clang it made, hitting the ground. When he dived to his feet, I raised the bat, ready to hit anything that moved. "What? What is it?" Jasper held out the pencil with a hiss. I saw it straight away. The thing twined around the end of the nib. It had grown in size, from a parasitic worm-like creature to something else entirely, a centipede-like insect with antennae. "That." Jasper's eyes were wide with, I couldn't tell, excitement or fright or maybe both. He let out a strangled breath. "Holy shit, that is a big boy." He waved the pencil and I staggered back. "Look at it! Look at that thing!" His voice was a hysterical hiss. "It's evolving!" I nodded shakily, taking notice of the fleshy-like substance clinging to it. "Is that brain tissue?" "Yep." Jasper shuddered. "I was right. It's formed through Marlowe's brain matter." The boy seemed to be entranced by the thing as it moved, winding its body around the pencil. I detected movement in Connor's ear. With Jasper smitten with the damn thing, I lowered myself and shuffled over to the boy, trying not to think about what exactly the so-called update was doing to him. Keeping my distance, I peered, squinting at Connor. Nothing happened, though. When I held my breath and risked poking his temple, his head rolled, and something slipped from his right ear, and I could immediately taste a stale Twinkie climbing back up my throat. "Jasper," I whispered. The thing reminded me of an umbilical cord because it was still connected to Connor's body, or his brain. I was looking at a long, fleshy mass, narrow enough to look like an intestine, but there was something glittering in it, like steel, like metal. Slowly I backed away, and Jasper took my place, still holding the pencil and the thing at arm's length. Jasper was silent for a moment, and I knew that was bad. I'd only known him a few days, though I couldn't even be sure. Time doesn't exist here as long as day and night are shaded in obscurity. Finally, he turned to me, and this time his lips were twisted, eyes dark. "Mara, what the fuck is this?" he whispered. This is man-made metal." I could only stare at whatever had slipped from Connor's ear. There was no way Jasper was wrong, yet I wanted him to be. He prodded at the fleshy thing which seemed to be encased in metal. "That's come out of his brain," he said, glancing up at me. "That means
Whatever this thing is, probably one of many, isn't just a parasite.
He waved the pencil manically.
It works like a fucking nanobot.
What? I whispered.
Nanobot.
Jasper repeated in a hiss, waving the pencil. I bit back the urge to yell at him to stop. If he flung that thing and it reached either of us, we were screwed.
You know, tiny metal bug-like things that are meant to cure cancer.
Jasper's eyes were frightened, and I didn't like that.
This is different, though. It looked like these work to convert organic matter.
He was both making sense and not.
Which means this thing, that's what it's doing. That's what the update is doing to them.
He tossed a look at Connor, his lip curling with disgust.
It's converting their entire nervous system.
Something warm slithered up my throat.
Which means we're even more fucked than we were before.
He dropped the pencil in the creature and stomped on it 3 times until it was a squirming mass under his foot. I had no doubt it would survive.
If we kill the queen, we can stop this, he whispered. And you can do that, right? You can talk to Aurora and stop this.
That was a question I was asking myself. I decided to change the subject.
It still doesn't explain why Connor keeps reacting like that. Yeah, telekinesis wasn't on my bingo card for this. Or electrokinesis, whatever it is, though. We're part of it. Human, brainwashed, psycho. We're a mutated freak. We're all part of it.
It was the first time I'd seen genuine hopelessness on his face. Jasper clawed at his face, like something was really there. That thing, that creature, wriggling inside his head.
Fuck, he whispered. What if that thing is inside me? What if it's in there, in my head?
He hissed out.
What if we can't get it out?
Jasper made a noise that sounded almost like a sob.
What the fuck is this thing doing to us?
You don't watch the video, I said, right? He nodded with a sigh.
I was sound asleep in the IT room after almost giving myself a concussion, walking into a fucking locker. When I woke up, the whole fucking school had lost it. My teacher tried to kill me and I managed to get away, locking myself in the boys' bathroom. I stayed there for 3 days.
His words stirred something in me.
Wait,
I said, my gut turning over.
The IT room? But wasn't that...
I was cut off when Jasper hit the ground face first. At first I thought he'd had some kind of episode, considering he had narcolepsy. But then I saw the looming shadow over the two of us, a familiar face, static eyes shining down on me and a shark-like grin. I felt that electric surge in the air, that crackling once again. This time it bounced between the 3 of us, discarded bodies and phones reacting in a frenzy.
"Sup, Mara?"
Joey nodded to a knocked-out Jasper before kicking the boy in the head. Jasper didn't move. I glimpsed something moving, a tendril, snaking its way around his feet, binding them effortlessly.
"Been making friends, Ouch."
Joey bent down, his gaze drinking in Jasper.
"Oh, so zombie boy survived. That's ironic."
I could sense the others, Joey's gang cornering us, silhouettes bleeding into focus around me. All of them were like him, patchwork skin binding torn flesh, eyes sprouting mold in skeletal mouths. What was the difference, I thought, between them and Connor Marlowe? Before I could respond, he was bending down and grabbing Jasper's legs, beginning to drag him.
"Aurora wants to see you,"
he murmured. His grin caught the light.
"Oh, Mara, we're going to have so much fun."
That's all I can write so far. I'll be back in a few days. Just let me get my breath back.